Reed Talk is sponsored by Barton Cane. Barton Cane produces gouged, shaped, and scored oboe cane. Their cane is processed on precision equipment designed by them. Choose your type of cane, shape, and tube diameter in increments of 0.25 millimeters. Your days of saying no to happy hours are over. Use coupon code ILOVEReedTalk, all one word, for free shipping. Take back your life with Barton Cane. And by Reed Design. With the power of machine learning, Reed Design derives patterns and trends that accurately predict the characteristics of finished reeds. Founded by Logan Asterling, Reed Design makes quality reeds with characteristics you can count on. Save valuable time and get back to what you love, making music. Visit reeddesign.io to learn more. And also by Ugly Duckling Oboes helps every student succeed, offering both in-person and online lessons. An authorized dealer of Fox, Fasadi, and Buffet instruments, we offer sales and rental of new and used oboes. We sell reeds and oboe cane for all levels of oboists. Let Ugly Duckling Music be a part of your student's success story. Like us on Facebook or go to uglyducklingoboes.com. Welcome to Reed Talk. We're thrilled to be conversing with Robert Sheena today. He has been the English horn player of the Boston Symphony since 1994 and is an instructor of both oboe and the English horn at Boston University's School of Music, the Tanglewood Institute, and the Boston Conservatory at Berkeley. Welcome to Reed Talk.
Thank you so much, Margaret. I'm delighted to be here.
Let's start with having you tell us a bit about your musical training. Who do you consider to be your most influential role models?
Well, there's a long history to my education, and involves not just oboe teachers, but other musical mentors. So I'm going to mention a few of those from the outset, because hopefully that'll be of some interest to your listeners. So I'm a San Francisco native. I grew up there and had all my formative years there. And when I was in high school, I used to like to run on the beach, and I met a cellist who was in the San Francisco Symphony at the time, named Carter Enyart, and we're such a small musical world. Carter just recently retired as the cello teacher at UMKC, right around the corner from you.
Exactly.
Well, he became something of a kind of mentor to me as I was, starting to get interested in this classical music stuff, and used to go to, hear his string quartet play. And I remember one concert in particular. It was music of Mozart and Ravel and Shostakovich, and I thought, this is really good stuff. I love this music thing. I was just starting to play the oboe seriously. I'm a little bit of a late bloomer, only really taking lessons sort of the latter part of high school. I wanted to mention him because we're still, longtime friends to this day, and that was an important juncture for me, actually. So when I got to college, that was a little curious, too. I went to UC Berkeley starting in 1978 and intended to study chemistry. I didn't really have much confidence in my musical ability yet. The orchestra conductor at Cal was also a fabulous musician, also became a mentor of mine, a man named Michael Centuria. And he put me in the orchestra. So I started to take the oboe more seriously and had the incredible good fortune of taking lessons with the great Mark Lifshey as one of my first teachers, if you can imagine that, my first serious teacher. And I used to take the bus from Berkeley over to Cordovedera to take lessons with him, and he would come pick me up in he had this little Sunbeam sports car. That was just an incredible experience. He's such a great artist and musician, and revered by so many oboe players as well. His schedule at the San Francisco Symphony got really busy, so he sent me to one of his star students, a man named Bill Banovitz. Bill was a longtime principal oboe of the San Francisco Ballet Orchestra, and he'd studied with Mark Lifshey, but had begun his training in Minneapolis with Angelucci. So, and through that, there was something, if I may say, of the Tabito Curtis tradition, because Bill turned out to be just a fabulous teacher for me. Somebody I really needed at that point in my training, because he was tough. He was very disciplined. I think I was thinking about this prior to our interview, and I think for maybe 6 weeks or more, all I got to do was long tones.
Oh.
So,
Yeah.
and as a kid, you want to play, you want to play some music, and he was insistent, and I think I got handed a Bach cantata at school to play or something, and he was upset because he thought, no, you're not ready for that yet, you have to do your homework.
Yeah.
And I'm eternally grateful for that training, and actually wish I was maybe a little more disciplined with my own students to, just really make them do those fundamentals really seriously. So anyway, long story short, I finished my time at Cal and, developed some confidence and started to think, maybe I could do this, do this oboe thing professionally. So I got a scholarship from the university and decided to use it to pay for tuition at Northwestern. Margaret, right? You and I are Northwestern alums, and decided to go spend my master's degree studying with Ray Still. That turned out to be, another turning point. Really, really fantastic time with him. I was, thinking about what were some of the hallmarks of his teaching, and his incredible kind of vibrant use of the air and singing tone quality and long line phrasing, and
right.
And my sound got a lot better. I really didn't have much what I'd call center in my sound. Mm-hmm. And that was not just through improved reed making. It was really through kind of approach of the air and what I was doing with my embouchure, things like that. So I had a fantastic year with him, and then it was just a 1-year program. And then in those days, and I graduated, and I hung around Chicago and worked for the Chicago Symphony in the subscription office, as kind of doing data entry and stuff like that, and freelancing and taking auditions. It was then that I got in the civic orchestra and started taking lessons with the English horn player, Grover Schiltz. And I have to say that I didn't actually play very much English horn for him. It was mostly the oboe. I think of Grover as also something of a mentor, and also, up there in the panoply of really great teachers that I was lucky enough to have, because Grover has just had such a great approach to teaching. It was so kind of no nonsense, mm-hmm. no histrionics, just sort of kind of yes and no, sort of flat toned, but it was really what I needed at the time, and my playing got quite a bit more refined. He was really a stickler for using vibrato carefully. I remember that about his teaching. And my friend and colleague Carolyn Hove, who plays in the LA Phil, she also studied with Grover for many years, and we talk wistfully about our time with him, how much we loved him. And he was also a really interesting guy, I have to add. One thing I appreciated about him was that he wasn't just all about the oboe. He and his wife for years ran a kennel for dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'd go to his house for lessons, and you'd be greeted with a chorus of, literally a cacophony of 12 or so barking dogs.
Right, I remember that.
And right, and I just thought that was wonderful. He was a gourmet cook, and he had all these other interests.
He collected African masks, as I remember. And
That's
traveled.
right.
Yeah.
That is right. He did. Yes, he and Bev traveled very widely, not just on Chicago Symphony tours, but. He was a great influence. Finally, in the kind of collection of training that I did and had, like so many of us, I made my pilgrimage to see the great John Mack, and spent quite a bit of time with him just having private lessons. I started studying with him, so to speak, as a student at Hidden Valley in 1985, and just thought, wow, I really got to find out what this guy has to say. And so I made quite a number of trips to Cleveland just to take lessons privately with him. And I remember the Cleveland Orchestra came on tour to Hong Kong when I was there, and I just thought, this is so great. I got to take him out, wine and dine him, so to speak, and I was prepping for an audition, so played for him and got to play duets with him. It was just great. That's kind of my journey in my student days. I would say one more thing I wanted to mention about my time with Ray Still, and be interested to know, Margaret, if you found this as well. But One thing I thought was great about Mr. Still was that he thought, as all of the best oboe players I know sort of view the instrument as as an extension of the human voice, as something you want to really try to vocalize through and sing through. And so he was really big on having his students listen to great artists on other instruments.
Yes.
And in particular, there were two singers that he revered that I really started listening to a lot when I was in school. One was the great German tenor Fritz Wunderlich, and the other, the soprano Ellie Ameling. And for your listeners out there, I can't recommend highly enough listening to some recordings of these two artists. Wunderlich in particular, the beauty of the sound of the voice and the lyricism, it just melts you really, and it's something you want to maybe try to imitate through the oboe if possible. So I think maybe Ray Still's approach in that regard was maybe a little unorthodox, but it made a lot of sense to me, I think, and makes sense to this day. So
right, and all those exercises that were sort of like vocalese.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Vocalizing on the oboe.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He was a great lover of jazz.
He was a great lover. Yes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
he recommended a huge set of CDs of Billie Holiday to me, which I
Right.
listened to. And why did he have me get this? Who is this person? Why am I listening to this? But then when you hear that just ease and legato and the connection between the notes,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
something very inspiring and very much an influence on my playing. And
Right,
I do
right.
remember he hated teaching etudes.
Yes, he did. He did hate teaching etudes, and that was perhaps unfortunate. But I was for myself, having had time with Mr. Lifshey and Bill Banovitz, I had already done a lot of the Barretts and Fairlings, and could see their use pedagogically. So you're right, absolutely. Ray Still, he really did hate teaching etudes, but I think his philosophy was, he wanted to go right for the greats. He wanted you to play Bach and Mozart and Telemann and Schubert and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, oh my gosh, from Lifshey to Still to Mack, you just covered all the major schools of oboe playing right there, practically.
In a way, I kind of did.
You've had just a wonderful career. Before joining the Boston Symphony, you were the assistant principal oboist and English horn player in both the Hong Kong Philharmonic and the San Antonio Symphony. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about your early adventures on the audition trail? And when did you know you were going to be an English horn player?
Sure, those are fantastic questions. I took maybe about a 10-year period of auditioning before I ended up in the BSO. Yeah, I must have taken 25, 30 auditions, whatever, maybe more. If you just get a taste of some success, if you're lucky enough to, make it through to one round, you think, well, maybe I can do this. One cute story I think your listeners will enjoy is that I was a Tanglewood Music Center fellow in 1984. And then the following summer, I really wanted to go to Hidden Valley. And it sort of competed with the National Repertory Orchestra, which I had also gotten into. But so I had to convince them to, let me delay my start there so I could spend some time with John Mack. Mm-hmm. And but right between Hidden Valley and National Repertory Orchestra was the audition for second oboe of the San Francisco Symphony, my hometown band. Yeah. And I was very excited about that, and maybe a little too anxious. I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if I got to play in this orchestra? And I made it through one round, and then just didn't have my act together. But the cute part of the story is that I shared a warm-up room with John Ferrillo.
Oh.
And he he went on to get the job. And I remember that, quite clearly, because they sort of, stuck us in this one room together.
Yeah.
So,
and he took quite a few auditions too.
he did. We've commiserated, he and I, about our struggles. But, we obviously neither of us can complain, can we? It all worked out. So my audition for the Hong Kong Phil was funny because that was in Chicago. In those days, they sent a whole kind of committee around to places like New York, LA, Chicago. And honestly, I kind of forgot that I'd taken the audition because they didn't give me the result right away. So so I got a letter in the mail that was like a mailgram in those days. It was a thin little letter, and it looked like it was, something to ask you to join the Book of the Month Club or something. So